The crystalline spires of Zephyria Prime gleamed under the pale light of their twin suns, but today they trembled. Commander Vex Thule of the Galactic Confederation watched through his bio-optical implants as another wave of Shadow Maw destroyers emerged from hyperspace, their obsidian hulls scarred with the marks of countless conquered worlds. "Sir, our shields are down to 12%, reported Lieutenant K. Vara, her tentacles dancing nervously over the holographic controls. "The defense grid won't last another hour." Vex Thule's four eyes closed in despair. 3 months ago, when the Shadow Maw Collective had first struck the Outer Rim territories, the Confederation had been confident. They were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, or so they had believed. Their plasma weapons could vaporize asteroids, their shields could deflect solar flares, and their fastest ships could cross star systems in mere days. But the Shadow Maws were different. They consumed entire star systems, converting matter into dark energy that powered their relentless expansion. World after world had fallen, their populations either enslaved or worse transformed into mindless drones that serve the collective's hive mind. Sir K. Vera's voice cracked with static interference as another blast rocked their command station. Should we send the distress signal?" Vex Thule hesitated. 6 months ago, their deep space monitors had detected something unprecedented, a response to one of their oldest exploration probes. The signal had come from a small blue world in an unremarkable solar system, inhabited by a species that called themselves humans. Initial scans had been disappointing, no faster than light travel, primitive fusion technology, and their world was a nightmare of extreme weather, tectonic instability, and hostile wildlife. A death world, the xenobiologists had called it. The kind of planet that produced either extinction or monsters. But the humans had responded to their probe with mathematical sequences, artistic expressions, and something the Confederation's translators had struggled to interpret: messages of hope and curiosity about meeting other intelligent life. "Send it," Vex Thule commanded, his voice heavy with resignation. "Broadcast on all frequencies. If there are any civilized species left in the galaxy, perhaps they can preserve something of our knowledge." The transmission shot across the void, carrying with it the last desperate plea of a dying civilization. Vex Thule didn't expect an answer. Even if the primitive humans received it, what could they possibly do? 3 weeks passed. Zephyria Prime was a tomb world now, its cities converted into Shadow Maw breeding facilities. The few survivors hid in underground bunkers, waiting for the inevitable. Vex Thule had been captured during the final battle, his consciousness kept intact, so the Shadow Maws could extract tactical information about remaining Confederation strongholds. Then the sensors screamed. Emergent signatures lit up the void, not 1 or 2 ships, but hundreds. Thousands. The Shadow Maw Collective, for the first time in their recorded history, paused their systematic consumption of Zephyria Prime to investigate this anomaly. The ships that emerged from hyperspace were unlike anything in the galactic databases. They were massive, all ships. "This is Admiral Chen," her voice carried across thousands of vessels. "Remember what we learned about these things. They're used to fighting civilized species beings who surrender when the odds become impossible, who negotiate when faced with extinction. They've never fought someone from a death world." She paused, watching as the Shadow Maw fleet began its advance, confident in their overwhelming numbers. "They've never fought humans. All ships weapons-free. Show them what Earth's children can do." The battle that followed would be studied for generations. The Shadow Maws had expected conventional tactics, energy shields, plasma weapons, organized retreats when faced with superior numbers. Instead, they encountered something that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Human ships rammed Shadow Maw destroyers at full speed, their crews evacuating to escape pods milliseconds before impact. Suicide bombers guided asteroid mining charges into the heart of enemy formations. When their weapons failed, human Marines boarded enemy vessels with nothing but explosive charges and fighting knives. The Shadowmaw Collective, for the first time in their existence, experienced something they had no word for: fear. Below on Zephyria Prime, Vex Thul felt the psychic scream of the Shadowmaw hive mind, as human forces carved through their formations like a plague of mechanical locusts. Through his neural link to the collective, he witnessed scenes that defied comprehension: human soldiers fighting on even after sustaining wounds that should have killed them, their combat stims and genetic modifications pushing them beyond all biological limits. Within 6 hours, the Shadowmaw fleet was in full retreat. Within 12, Zephyria Prime was free. When Vex Thul finally met Admiral Chen in person, he struggled to reconcile her small, seemingly fragile form with the tactical genius who had just achieved the impossible. "Why?" he asked through the translation matrix. "Why did your people risk everything for strangers you'd never met?" Chen was quiet for a long moment, looking out through the observation deck at the recovery ships pulling survivors from the planet's surface. "Because that's what humans do," she said finally. "When someone sends out an SOS, we answer. It's not about odds or tactical advantages. It's about the principle that no one dies alone in the dark if we can help it." She turned to face him, and Vex Thul saw something in her eyes that the Shadowmaws never could have understood: not the cold calculation of a predator, but the fierce protectiveness of a species that had clawed its way up from a world that tried to kill them every single day. "Besides," Chen added with a slight smile, "you're not strangers anymore. Welcome to the Human Alliance, Commander. We're going to need all the help we can get to finish cleaning up this Shadowmaw problem." As the human fleet prepared for their next engagement, Vex Thul realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. The age of civilized warfare was over. The Deathworlders had arrived, and they fought not just to win, but to protect. The Shadowmaw Collective, somewhere in the dark between stars, began to comprehend what they had awakened. They had started a war with a species that treated the impossible as merely another Tuesday. It would be their last mistake,